going to start in 1 minute. Facebook. All right, everybody. This is Nicholas Acosta, writer, producer, host of the podcast Home to All, an all-inclusive real estate podcast, coming to you today from downtown Orlando, Florida. Just wanted to say good morning. It's a little after 9. Today, this is part of my series, Getting Back to Business, and talking about what to do during COVID-19 and even possibly after COVID-19. Today, I have an amazing guest, a repeat guest of mine on the show, George Philbeck with EXP Realty. Yeah, he's in Orlando as well. Good morning, George.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Just ecstatic that we had that huge storm go through. I hope everybody's okay. That looked pretty bad this morning through basically all of Central Florida. But doing great, man. Doing great. How's everything with you?
Doing well. Yeah, we woke up this morning and we looked out toward the Lake Eola and Robinson Street, or Robinson. Yeah, and we could see the rain coming down. But as of right now, from what I can look to my right, it's still a little cloudy, but it looks like the sun is trying to make its way through. So,
well, you have a great view with that elevation on the floor you're on. I mean, that'd be really cool to watch the storm go through that way.
Oh yeah,
so
definitely.
Let's get to it, man.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about what's happening in COVID-19. I know we talked offline before this morning how I've ran into some people that are in the business that are jumping ship. But what what is your advice or what people should do in this business to weather the storm, so to speak?
Well, we've, for a couple of years now, we've always talked about it. And real estate goes in trends and cycles. There's, 7 to 10 years we go through a real estate cycle. And there's always been this conversation that we've had such a bull market in real estate, as well as other things, for the last 10 years, really since 2009 or so. So we've been pretty great with our prices going up and interest rates are really, really low. And the conversation was, well, sooner or later, there's going to be a change in the market. I don't think anybody forecasted a change that came from a global pandemic. Now, what caused the shift, what caused the change in the market isn't as important as the recognition that there is some change here. And we've seen this time and time again. I've experienced it a couple of times now. A couple people on the call, hopefully they've experienced it as well. When there is a shift like this, when there is a change, there's opportunity out there. This isn't really, I wouldn't suggest that this is the time to leave the real estate market. This is the time I'd really kind of lean my shoulder in and say, let's make this work, because there's greater opportunity. I hate hearing agents say, I think I'm going to get out of it. And I respect their decision, of course, but I think that there's great possibility for growth and capturing market share in any change, in any environment. When we get into a more challenging market, it means our skill set has to be greater. It means that we have to be better advisors, better counsel for our clients, better marketers, quite honestly. And we're going to have to work a little harder. It's super easy to sell a home at, let's say, $400,000 when that's the price that it should be today. But a week from now, it should be $425,000, where the market's going through the roof. It's really easy to be a real estate agent. This is where the great agents this is where agents get great, where they have to really hone their skills, because we're going to have, as we already do, we've got less buyers in the market. We've got a lot of homes that are pent up right now that aren't in our inventory, but I think are going to be coming because we're in the heat of our summer season. This is it, from end of March through really end of June. That's our summer buying season, buying and selling season. And we've gotten, goodness, at least a month and a half taken out of there. And I think there's some pent up demand in there. And I think that there's great opportunity. And I just hope that everybody weathers the storm, sticks with this, and we'll absolutely get through this.
I couldn't agree with you more. And to touch on the point you're talking about, how this is the time to hone in your skills. There was yesterday or overnight. Now with a lot of people working from home remotely, like corporate jobs that usually have to go to an office. Obviously, when you work in a corporate office, I'm sure you have, and I know I did for 20 years for an insurance company where they were, you're getting micromanaged where you're not allowed to be on your phone or not allowed to be previewing any other websites except doing work. Like, like not looking at real estate while you're in your office. You know what I'm saying? Like on a regular corporate job. Now that people don't have that watchdog over them anymore, more people are hitting up the apps on their phone, like the big companies, for instance, like Zillow. And actually, there was an article, I think it was in Inman.com or one of those sites yesterday, that said that obviously in like around St. Patrick's Day, there was a huge decline in home searches, but in like the last week, the direction is going up. Yeah, it's spiked upward really, really like sharply in the last week.
Yeah.
And I know from my personal business right here with the real estate, I got like about 10 leads came through overnight that I'm going to have to reach out to today when we get off the Facebook Live this morning. And also I've been getting people that are ready to, like friends of mine that are getting ready to sell their house in June because they're relocating. So I don't know. What about you? How's it going for you over there?
Well, I think that I'm blinking back and forth. Let me see if I can get that fixed real quick. I think that the real estate market itself is, we're starting to see more activity come through on it. As we just spoke of, there's a pent up frustration that people are experiencing. And I say this with firsthand knowledge. I can't speak for everybody, but I'm assuming everybody else is kind of going through what I'm going through. You're like, holy smoke, I got to get out of the house. I'm feeling a little bit claustrophobic. It's now a month we've been locked in. For the right reason, absolutely. But everybody's starting to get built up, and you've noticed that there's a spike in activity that you're witnessing. I happen to know that you've spent this time, what I consider to be extremely wisely, with taking your classes and working on your lead generation platforms, which are bringing fruit to the table for you. That's awesome. I think there's a lot of people where they're like, all right, this is great. I really don't have a lot of work to do. As much as I want to get out, the downtime isn't horrible, but they're looking now. They're out there, because you're right. I'm seeing a little more activity, and I love that. We've got to talk at some point about. Well, let's jump in if you don't mind. I want to talk about what's happened over the last 4 weeks or so. We found a lot of people have realized, we're seeing a lot of people that they've realized that the idea of having to drive into work and work isn't 100% necessary. You know what I mean, Nick?
Right.
Think of it this way: if your job is intellectual, if you're a thinking person, and your job is an intellectual, like a CPA or an accountant or something, you can do this job intellectually from anywhere you choose, right?
Right.
I'm interested to see what's going to happen 3 years down the road, 2 years down the road with office space, because as a business owner, you have to house the people that are working for you. And if you've got, $50,000 or $100,000 worth of monthly office expense, and you realize you can do that for half realistically and have people working from home and be just as productive, which is what we're finding out in a nationwide business right here. We're finding that out. I think they're going to capitalize on that and take advantage of it. So offices are going to be a unique proposition. Now that lends itself as well towards the Florida market. Unlike New York, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Illinois, some of the bigger states where we have a lot of businesses and a lot of infrastructure, New York particularly, they've got state taxes that are just burying them. They've got, the federal taxes, the cost of living index, everything else. If you're an intellectual person and you're, as I said, a CPA for a large firm, you can work anywhere you want to. You can go to Colorado, live in the mountains, work there, perfect. All you need is internet. You can come down to Florida. Well, we don't have state tax. I think that Florida is going to be one of the states that weathers what is potentially a correction in the real estate market. if I were a real estate investor, I would not be investing in office space. In fact, I'd probably be selling it. That's just my 2 cents. I'm sorry, I just had to throw that out. I wrote down the note
No,
about your classes and obviously commercial, because I think that's relevant to what's about to happen here.
I completely agree. And about, I would say, well before this global pandemic that we're experiencing now, the COVID-19, when I was in that corporate job for 20 years, I would say about maybe 10 years ago, corporations like the one I work for, the big insurance company I work for, could have already started sending people home to work because we had what's called, and they're talking a lot about this in the about in real estate now, like Florida realtors, or something called the intranet, which is not, I know you know what that is. Instead of the internet, it's like a server within the company where you have access to documents, training, guidance, and all that stuff. We had that years ago at the insurance company, and I always used to wake up every day, go to work, and go to the office and be like, in my own head, be like, why do we need to come to work every day when I could do the same job on my desktop computer? Of course, now we have, what is it, Wi-Fi internet or broadband internet, which we've had for a while now. But probably 10 years ago, people could have companies could have started to do this. But now I think, like you said a minute ago, that the global pandemic is making these companies go like, why are we spending so much money on commercial leases or rent on like Class A office space with all the luxurious amenities when we could let our employees work from home now?
Well, I agree. I think that there's, you touched on something that's kind of relevant for the investors out there that are looking for, stocks. And by no means am I advising, because I'm not very good at it.
No, I hear you. It's all good.
There's the security side of how do we let somebody who handles very, very sensitive information work from home and have that information stay secure so it's not going back and forth via the internet as opposed to the intranet. Once we figure that out, and obviously there are smarter minds than you and I working on that right now.
Yeah.
But once we're able to securely manage everything through encoding or encryption, it really opens it up. And I think for real estate, because this is real estate related, the Florida market becomes so viable, so real as an optional place to live where you don't pay state income taxes. The quality of life is far greater. It doesn't work with somebody who's in the service industry. God bless all of our servers. For everybody out there, please, please, please go out and order takeout food from your restaurants. Support them, because well, the servers may not be there. The restaurants are going to hire them back.
Right.
And we've got to keep them in place and keep them going. If you have the ability and the funds to do so, please try and make it a commitment once a week to local restaurant, a locally owned restaurant. Go out and support them, because they're the infrastructure and the backbone of everything we're doing here. Anyway.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I would say that, that's probably exactly a good point you brought up, was that's the only thing that they're working on right now, probably in smarter minds than what we are used to with technology.
Yeah.
Once they figure out how to keep data secure over the internet through like your, regular cable provider or something like that, through the fiber optic networks, then that's when a lot of companies will definitely start pushing everybody to go home to work instead of going into an office to save money, which I think, I was just thinking of this while you were talking about that, and it's probably going to make the residential real estate market boom even more, because then people were going to want to, like, say you live in Orlando, for instance, and you work downtown and you want to live, 5 minutes from work, like in an office tower downtown or something like that, just for example. Well, that way you can walk to work and and be on time. In the future, if we migrate toward or have a shift toward commercial businesses working from home, then it's not going to matter where you live in the state of Florida, because you can do everything remotely. So I think that's going to cause, people to relocate within the state. Hey, I can live closer to the beaches, or I can live in, like North Florida, South Florida. And even though my company's based in Orlando and that's where my office was, I no longer have to be tied down to an area. So or the people that want to live in Orlando that can't because of their job somewhere else, can relocate here, even from out of state, because they can work remotely.
Oh, and you're dead on it. You're exactly right with that. So just doing some real quick numbers. Let's say it costs $3 a gallon for gas. I know that's ridiculous now because it's super low, but it's been an average for a long time. And let's say you use 1 gallon of gas going to work and back. Forget tolls, forget wear and tear, forget car burdens or anything else. That's $300 a month in savings. And that's just the fuel into the
Right.
car. It doesn't equate out to your time or anything else. But imagine that. I mean, $300 a month, that allows you to buy a bigger house or have your house payment be dropped, whatever you choose to do with it. I see that there's such a big demand for this, although we may not be aware of it yet. It's going to change. This probably is going to make a massive difference in how people practice, how people go to work, what they do, their jobs, their compensation. You know, I mean, can you imagine saving that kind of time? You and I drive around all the time because we're real estate agents and we're out there with buyers and sellers showing properties. So we're really almost blue collar. I mean, I hate to say it that way because I like to think that we have some little intellectual tools that we bring to the table. But it's challenging for us. We couldn't do this and not live in the area that we're experts in and specialize in. But there's so much opportunity for so many people to improve the quality of their life and actually be more productive. And quite honestly, if these are the phone calls, nobody ever has to buy pants anymore. You can work in sweatpants all the time, you know, nice shirt and sweatpants.
Some people wear dress shirts with the tie and then they're wearing their shorts.
Right, exactly.
Because nobody can only see the upper half of your body on Zoom calls and Facebook Live. And yeah, I know. I think what's going to happen is that, I don't know, it's very interesting to see. And I think actually, you know, a lot of time for a while now, my thought is that I thought overnight before getting on the show with you today was that at one point I was never threatened by, you know, bots or automated stuff taking over our job per se, because I always felt that if I keep honing my skills like I'm doing, that I will still be relevant, and like you, and you'll still be relevant as well. But I think right now what's going to happen is I think we're even more relevant than we were before, because now with the pandemic going on, people want to turn to people for a solution or advice or guidance because they don't want to be in this alone anymore. And now I think more than ever, just from looking at my database spike in searches, they're looking for us more than ever before. I mean, at one point they probably were like, oh, well, we'll just go on Zillow or whatever the site is. And I mean, I'm sure they're still doing that, but now they want to have the human connection even more so than before, just because of what's going on with the pandemic. What are your thoughts on that?
I completely agree. I think in the when knowledge and skill set is not needed, it's simply a matter of price. In a declining market or a flattening market or a market that's in a state of flux or shock, as this one is,
right?
I personally, if I'm not sure, I'm questioning my personal health, I'm not going to use Google to find out the answer or an internet-based. I'm going to go see a doctor who's an expert and have them give me their opinion, because their opinion is extremely valuable. If I'm feeling great and my knee hurts, I'll check with WebMed. But you know what? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And if we kind of apply that to the real estate industry, where specific on real estate, it applies to a lot of other things at this point. But with real estate in mind, we've got a market that's in flux. That is that we may do a great recovery through the summertime, but I think that the next fall, this fall coming up, is going to be kind of in flux too. If we see any adjustment whatsoever, we're going to find, and because we've seen this happen again and again, that the knowledge and the skill set is much more in demand, because it's not just about price, it's about maximizing the price. The market doesn't take care of it. The agent will help somebody take care of that. That's just, again, my opinion is that we become more valuable to our buyers and our sellers when the market is in a challenging environment, because at that point they really need some expertise. It's not a guarantee that they're going to buy right and that it's going to go up in value 10% this year. So every dollar matters, and every strategy put to play to support their needs and their desires is critical. And that's the training. I mean, you just finished up a long training process to hone your skills. This is stuff that's valuable to your clients, to the people that are using you and your expertise for advice.
Well, I know I've talked to you guys about him, to you and Jackie before, about my late father, who was a physician for 46 years, that unfortunately passed about 3 years ago. He was always, as a doctor, he was board certified for emergency medicine and also family practice. He never got to the point of doing family practice like his own office or his own facility or whatever you want to say. Mm-hmm. But the reason he did that it's just like we're talking about getting additional education and certifications in the real estate business. Is he always told me that, he said, Nick, this is what you have to do. You always have to have a backup plan or get additional education or additional training, because, for instance, like this, the pandemic that's happening right now. You never know what's going to happen to the economy from one day to the next. I mean, pretty much you have an idea, but there could be something massive like what's happening right now, that you have to be ready as a backup to be prepared, just because that way you can still be relevant in the world, is basically what I'm trying to say. Is that he always said that you always have to keep learning, because you never know when you're going to need additional skills to help you in your career, is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, in this case, our career is about helping other people.
Right.
That's what we do. Our job is to help a buyer and a seller maximize their investment, maximize their purchase, maximize their dollar value. Perfect scenario. It's one of the things Jackie and I focus on. Our commitment is to have all of our buyers walk in with an equity position where they can literally turn around and sell it for a profit, and then to help our sellers with as much money as possible. You and I have talked a lot about how we're committed to that, where it's serving the client. It comes with an expertise. You can't just fake it till you make it.
Right.
On this one, there is, you've got time on task, where we're learning as we're going, and then the collaboration that we share inside of our particular brokerage, where there's so much collaboration on each other helping each other. It's boy, when it works, it sure is a lot of fun. I just the best part of my day is being able to make a difference in somebody else's. I know you experience that same thing.
No, I definitely do. And what's great too is that the brokers we work with, or that we're part of, I was doing, like I told you earlier, the lead conversion training for the Make It Rain and stuff like that, for example. Now, when I go to type in my questions to the little chat box in our EXP world, the coolest experience is that when you go to type it in, obviously they see your name, and I listen, and I'm like, oh yeah, Nick, that's a very good question. So it's kind of cool how you get that immediate like response from the instructors. Like even if there's 100 people in the room, for example, like I asked 2 questions yesterday, or gave 2 examples, and the instructor read it out loud saying my name. And then of course everybody else that does it, they say their name too. So it's kind of like, it feels good to have that, because, and these are people that are in the room, like other EXP agents like ourselves, that we're just sharing ideas of what to do and how to weather through the storm, so to speak, like I said earlier. And it's just a great feeling that there are so many others out there like ourselves, that we want to help people out there. We want you to, your place to live is essential. You need a roof over your head. And we want to be your, obviously, continued trusted advisors. That's what we are. And what do you think about that? So,
well, I mean, this is what we do.
right.
You mentioned something in there that I really, if you don't mind, I want
No,
to shift this a little bit, Nick, with and now it's not so much for the buyers and the sellers out there that I'm hoping will want some real expertise in the purchasing and sale of their properties, but for the real estate agents out there, for everybody that's with, it doesn't matter what brokerage you're with, guys, there's so much available for honing your skills online. Just because your office may actually be closed and you can't go in there, it doesn't mean that, and I don't care what brokerage you work with, it doesn't mean that you're now, you don't have the ability to grab more tools and really sharpen the axe a little bit. My God, reach out to Nick. You can come in and visit and do any one of our classes for 60 days and just try everything out. We got some phenomenal classes, but they're everywhere. You can go online. We're not the first company to have an online presence like this. I believe we're doing it a lot higher level than most of them are at this point, but this is going to catapult everybody into this. But for all of us agents, this is a great time to spend 2 hours a day working on your business and your skill set. Nick, I know yours has been like 3 or 4 hours a day where you're focused on your classes and getting the additional certifications, the thing you need. But for every other agent out there, and even for, I've got 360 business partners in our little family, and every one of them, it is my sincere hope, is taking this opportunity to have a little extra time and focusing it on self-improvement, on skills that will ultimately help the receiving end of our expertise, which is our clients, our buyers and sellers. So, seriously, you want to come and take any one of our 50 classes a week, get with Nick, just send him a message and he can invite you in. It's free. Nobody will know you're there. We're not trying to have you join our brokerage. I just want you educated. And if that doesn't work for you, that's okay. Go to Google, go to YouTube, anything. There's so much out there for us. And this is such a great opportunity for us to get better at what we do. Because ultimately, when it comes time, and this all goes away in the next week or two, fingers crossed, where we start to be able to get out and loosen this up a bit, come to the table with more tools, come to the table with more expertise for your clients, because I tell you what, they need it. They need your help, and they're going to look for you as guidance. And it's our responsibility to be amazing for them. That's our commitment. We did that when we started. We said, we're going to help them be great and get the best success. And you guys are responsible for doing that. So am I.
I completely agree. So yeah, George, I really appreciate you joining me today on this Facebook Live / podcast. And when I get the editing done today, I will send you over a copy of the one for the RSS feed as
Please.
well, to have an audio version. So thank you guys also for cooperating with my background. This is something I'm trying out. I'm learning it. There's probably I know my headphones will disappear sometimes. I can see it in my own screen here as well. So it's all good. It's just because it's the same color as the background.
It takes off one of your ears. It's like your Van Gogh.
Yeah,
you know
I know. Where did my ears go? But anyways, that's funny. But yeah, so thank you. Yeah, George. And just like we were talking about out there is, right before this happened too, I'm very grateful, one, to go join the EXP brokerage that George and Jackie brought me into. And also I'll give a shout out to Yvonne Sandoval of GetLeverage365.com. She basically showing me the value of marketing campaign, and what a better time to start an email and postcard marketing campaign when right now we're technically not allowed to go out door knocking until this is over. Of course, don't get me wrong. Once we get the all clear, I will be out there on the grounds running again, stomping on the grounds. I'm waiting for it. I have all my door hangers and all my material ready. So, yeah, guys. So, any last words you have to say, George, today, or?
I appreciate you asking me to join you. It's my pleasure. It's always fun when you and I do this without Facebook Live. We're always having conversations about bettering our business and what we do. So this is just, hell, who knew that there are people watching? Hi, everybody that's watching. This is a normal conversation.
Hello, everybody. Yes.
Except when we talk normally, you don't lose an ear.
Oh, no. I don't disappear in the background. But all right, guys. So with that, this is Nicholas Acosta, host of the podcast Home to All, an all-inclusive real estate podcast, coming to you today from downtown Orlando with my great guest, George Philbeck, EXP Realty, over in the Dr. Phillips area of Orlando. With that, George, I'll see you later. And everybody out watching, thank you again for watching, and have a great day. I'll talk to you soon, George.
Bye.
Bye-bye.